So Holly, my sister-in-law, the same person I was forking over money to so I could pay her kids to get through college, that same woman wants to go behind my back and talk all this mess about me. Well, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and stand for it, and I'm not going to let my husband stand for it either, so here's what we're going to do.
It's always the one you sacrifice the most for who ends up spitting on your blessing. Why is it that people are never grateful for the help that they get? Instead, they feel that they're entitled to it, which is just absolute delusion. You see, I've never been so humbled before in my life. I'm completely, utterly speechless after two 20-year-olds decided to insult me despite all I've done for them. I'm now on the verge of neglecting my duty as sister because this was too much. Let me give you some background, T. Then you could go on and tell me if I'm right or wrong for revoking the help that I was giving my sister-in-law. So I'm 39 and female. I've been married for 5 years to my husband, Gordon. My wedding day was both the happiest and the saddest of my life. The weather suddenly took a turn and Gordon was stuck on the other side of town with my brother. See, my brother, who I had no idea was sick at the time, made sure they found out a way through. Yeah. Unfortunately, he left his medication at their accommodation and started feeling sick. Gordon wanted to turn back, but he was adamant. They arrived and the wedding was successful. Unfortunately, my brother passed away that evening. Me and Gordon felt so guilty and blamed ourselves. Gordon knew that he was sick, but had been sworn to secrecy. He wished that he had forced my brother to turn back or remain in the accommodation. But Justin really wanted to be at my wedding and walk me down the aisle. So that night, he passed away peacefully in his sleep. I did not get to enjoy my honeymoon as I had to plan a funeral. He left his wife and 2 children behind. Since he was the main breadwinner and did not have a good insurance, they started to struggle. I never knew how bad their financial situation truly was until my sister-in-law told me that she might not be able to send the kids to college. Wow. Gordon and I make a lot of money and do not have kids of our own. It was only natural for us to offer to pay for the education. From then on, we've been paying for my niece and nephew to go to college. They're in another state, but I keep in contact with them and made sure that they have everything that we need. We've decided not to have kids until they graduate. You know, last semester, they told me that they wanted summer jobs, so I used my connections to get them internships in their respective field in our town so they would be closer to their mother. I told them to work very hard, and it did not matter that they were related to me. How they presented themselves in the working world would have a lasting effect, you know. They both claimed to understand and promised me that they would not mess up at all. Tell me why I got a call yesterday, on the day that they were supposed to be starting their internship. I was informed that both of them had not shown up and were not answering their phone. I went to their apartment. They chose not to live with their mother because they wanted more freedom. You know, Grandpa owns the apartment, and it's rent-free, so neither me nor their mom had a problem with it. When I opened up the door, all of my senses were assaulted. The first thing that hit me was the stench of the place. It smelled like a brewery. When I made my way through the house, I nearly fell because there were bottles, pizza boxes, and all kinds of strange things. Looking at the evidence, it appeared that the 2 of them had a party just the day before their internship. So, I know that they are young and prone to do things like this, but on the day before they started work, they had no idea how many strings I had to pull to get them in this because they had not yet graduated. Well, I was fuming and started shouting their name. After some time, 2 groggy people came out of their room and looked shocked that I was there. I asked them what the hell they would do something so stupid for. Jalen asked me why I was speaking so loudly and looked very out of it. I opened up the window as I lectured them on how important it was for them to be responsible. I could not believe that they had disappointed me in such a manner. I was angry. I told them that they had embarrassed me and probably cost themselves the opportunity. At that, Selena asked if I could not just get them another gig. She then asked if I could buy them some breakfast because there was no more food in the house. I looked at her, thinking that I heard wrong, but that was simply not the case. She had actually dismissed the seriousness of the situation just so she could ask me to go buy her food. I looked around at the bottle of alcohol that was scattered around the house, and I told her she should have them for breakfast. Jalen suddenly had a lot to say and told me not to speak to his sister like that. Well, I told him, first of all, buckaroo, I could speak to her the way that I wanted. Secondly, I was the one who paid for their education and got them these internships, and I expect them to respect me. At that, Selena asked why I was making such a big deal. That's when I shouted at her and called her ungrateful, and I was trying to help them be someone their father would be proud of, but all they did was defy. They were also going to ruin their future if they kept on partying like this. So, Jalen asked why I even cared. I was doing all this because of the guilt. In fact, he felt that I owed them. That's when I was taken back. I've worked through my feelings of guilt with the therapist, so bringing it up was a low blow. I told him to shut the heck up, because he has no idea what he's even going on about. Soon, the three of us were screaming at each other and tensions rose. I could not believe that they had messed up, embarrassed me, and still felt entitled to my kindness. There was no way that I was going to get them out of this mess. Maybe it's better for them to get jobs on their own. I told them to keep on talking till I decide to stop paying for their college. And that's when Jalen laughed and said that he did not care, because I was, not very moral on my own standards anyways. I asked what the hell did he mean by that? What did he know about my love life? He laughed and said that his mom told him everything about my history. See, Holly and I have never gotten along, but I had no idea that she would discuss my history with children. Yes, I was once a wild child. I have a past, but I've changed. I acted up after my parents passed and had a lot of boyfriends, boy toys, but I've since healed. I'm ashamed of the person that I used to be, but that's no longer me. She knew all this and chose to tell her children anywho. See, I have no idea why she felt it was necessary. Now, I wonder what else has been said about me and I don't know about it. What if I'm always a topic of discussion in their house and I have no idea about it? Guys, I'm not gonna lie. I felt sick when Jalen said that and I wanted to smack that kid. But I held myself back and merely walked out of that apartment. I've since had their internships canceled, and I told my husband what happened, and he wanted to go back there and fight Jalen. He can't believe that they had grown up to be such spoiled, ungrateful brats. He really wants to teach them a lesson, and I agree. But I don't want him to fight Jalen, and I'm considering not paying for their fees anymore and seeing what they'll do about that. What they have said has hurt me to the very core, and there's no turning back. But I do feel bad because my brother is not there to support them. I'm stuck right now, so please help me make the right decision. Comment number 1. Oh my gosh, where did those kids get the nerve to talk to you like that? You're their aunt and supporter. They should be grateful that you're working so hard to secure their future. I think that they've had enough of your kindness and you should cut them off. There are so many other kids out there who would want to have such opportunity, and instead, they're squandering these opportunities. In addition, their mom seems sketchy. I mean, why would she discuss what happened a long time ago with him? I think you said that you two did not get along, but to what extent? You might just find out that the whole family hates you, and is just using you to get ahead, which is something that nobody deserves to go through. I think that you should stop paying their fees and let them make a plan since they're so ungrateful. Comment number 2 by Jessica Robert. Well, that must have been so hard for you to go through. I'm sure that you love them very much and only want what's best for them. Nobody would blame you for cutting off financial support, but I think that you should not. I think that their mom might be corrupting them against you. See, talk to her, resolve your issues with her. As for your niece and nephew, part of them is your brother. You and your husband have committed yourselves to helping out his kids. I'm sure that you can put aside your personal feelings for them and help them. It might work best to cut off communication, but pay for their education when they graduate. If they mess up, it's up to them to clean it up. Don't help them. That way you can prevent yourself from feeling guilty if they end up dropping out. Update number 1, 2 days later. Hey guys, it's me. So, it's 2 days later, and I feel much better than the last time I posted. I just wanted to thank everybody for the support that you've given me. I've read all your advice, and it's helped me to think about how to move forward. And firstly, I want to say that I decided to speak to my sister-in-law to get to the root of all this. I met up with her yesterday in the afternoon, and it was very interesting of a meeting. When she sat down, I could immediately sense the hostility radiating from her. I'll admit that it was pretty unsettling, but I decided to be polite. I started off by telling her that I want to talk about what happened between me and her kids. I told her that the way they acted was very childish and disrespectful. They were wrong for having a party the day before work and failing to pitch up. They embarrassed me in front of all my peers, who I had to tell that they were no longer coming. If my relationship with those people suffer because of this, it'll have a big blow to my career. For that, I expect a full apology from them, and she nodded and listened, and then she asked me what she had to do with it. She said that they were adults and should know when they were wrong. She's not going to talk to them and get them to apologize to me, and I don't know what I was expecting her to be an adult about this for, because obviously, she took her kid's side and made me out to be the crazy person, and I hated every second of sitting across from her. So, I decided to drop the topic because we were just going back and forth, and she did not want to take responsibility, despite being their mom, and I wanted them to apologize. I then brought up the second reason that I needed to talk to her. I asked her what she had said to, them about my history. Why was my nephew calling me all sorts of words about my men out of nowhere? When I said that, she looked down for a minute and simply did not talk to me or answer me, and I assumed that she felt guilty because of the fact that I had caught her. I expected her to plead for my forgiveness and say that she made a grave mistake, but however, when she looked back up at me, she said the most defiant look on her face. She tells me that she told them who I used to be. It's not like it was a secret. She reminded me that my husband knew, so it did not impact me negatively in any sort of way. That's when I realized and straight up reminded her of how simple-minded she was. My brother's wife does not have anything in her head. I'm not even joking. She's a peanut brain. She never finished college and has no interest in working, and she only started working after he passed away because she had to. When he was alive, she would force him to buy her all sorts of expensive things, even if it put him in debt. When he passed away, all the money that he had left went to paying off the debt that she created. She was spoiled rotten, an unreasonable woman, yet my kind and hard-working brother fell for her. For years, I hoped that she would mess up and he would leave her, but that did not happen. I watched as she sucked the life out of him for years, seeing how nonchalant she was about sharing my past with her kids. It reminded me of that. I was wasting my time speaking to somebody with so little rationale. I told her that because of her words, they would never respect me. It was clear that she was making it okay for them to disrespect me, and because of that, I was going to stop financially supporting them. I was done. They wanted to act like they were good for me, so why did they need my money? I was more than thorough with them. Holly scuffed when I said that and claimed that she had seen it coming. Apparently, she felt like having power and that it was being taken away. I was tweaking. I didn't care what she accused me of or how she tried to trick me into changing my decision. I've made my choice and I will no longer be supporting those two. They've become spoiled and entitled like their mom. If they carry on this path, then they're going to become just like her. They're no longer my sweet niece and nephew. They might as well be strangers now, and there's no need for me to financially support a stranger. Duh. With that being said, I've already spoken to the college and let them know that they're going to make alternate payments for college. I sure as hell hope that their mom has a plan for how they're going to pay for their tuition. I hope that they realize that it did not pay off to treat me like that. I'm never going to take disrespect from people who know nothing about hard work. They've been given absolutely everything handed to them on a silver platter, and now they want to just throw it away. Makes me sick. Update number 2, 2 months later. Hey guys, I'm back with some new information that's come to light. I think that you would be very interested in hearing about this, so after my conversation with my sister-in-law, I stopped all communication with her and the kids. I decided to focus on my marriage, and my husband and I realized that there's not much time left since I'm 39. I do have some eggs frozen, so we're thinking of having a surrogate, and over the past couple of months we've been starting the process. Today, we actually met someone we're okay with going through with, and I'm very happy. Well, I was happy until I got a phone call from an unknown number. To my shock, it was my sister-in-law, and she was begging me for help. She was crying, and I could barely make out what she was saying, but she mentioned my niece and nephew. Immediately, I dropped everything I was doing because I thought that something terrible had happened to them, and then I went over to her house. On the drive there, my mind was absolutely racing. I don't like those kids, but if anything had happened to them, I would be devastated. They are the last trace of my brother that's out there in this world, and I will always have love for them. When I arrived to find my hysterical sister-in-law, it took a while before she could tell me what had actually happened. It seemed that Jalen and Selena had just been arrested for selling, well, the devil's lettuce on school premises. They were currently in police custody and had used their free call to alert my sister-in-law. The world stopped for a while as I tried to comprehend what she was saying. There was no way that she was saying that those two were caught breaking the law, right? Surely, they would not be so dumb as to do that, but strange things have happened. Maybe their mom had been unable to send them enough money to sustain their lifestyle, and they decided to start to hustle. They might have been ungrateful brats, but I could admit that they were smart. So I asked for any details that she had and said I would find out more information, then started packing my things so that I could leave. She paused, crying for a while, and surprised me with a hug. In all those years I've known her, Holly has never touched me if she could have avoided it, and the fact that she was hugging me showed that it was a dire situation. After a while, I escaped her embrace and then bade her farewell. She looked like she wanted to ask me something before she left, but she said nothing. So, when I got home, I called my contacts in their state and they gave me more information. They'd been caught selling to a freshman, one of the star football players, which made the whole thing very controversial. It was not looking good for the two of them. So, the college, it would probably protect the football player, obviously, and let them take the fall for absolutely everything. I know how it worked in such spaces. What do they say? Money talks. They would rather lose two normal students than a star football player. Those two had really messed themselves over, and it was going to be difficult to get out of this one. I'll update you. Update number 3. 1 week later. Please subscribe to the channel. Hey, so, I know you guys have been dying for an update. Don't worry, because I've not forgotten about you. It's been about a week since my niece and nephew got arrested. I was able to point their mom to a good lawyer, but when she asked for money, I told her I could not help her. Those two had made it crystal clear that they did not consider me family, so why did I have to help them? Their mother did not respond after I sent her that message, and I thought that matter was resolved, but I was wrong. They finally had their bail hearing today, and it was set at $5,000 each. Guess who showed up to my house looking very humble today? She looked so frail, did not have any makeup on, and looked like she had no sleep. You could call her anything, but my sister-in-law loved her kids. They could do no wrong in her eyes, and she was sure that this was just a conspiracy. I did not ask for any of this information, but she proceeded to rant to me. I didn't have much to do, and I was curious about what happened to the troublesome two, so I indulged her. She told me that they had been accused of trying to solicit money for drugs from a student with a very clean record. Did I not say that this was how the college was going to paint this? I could already tell that they had a harsh punishment in store. After I had indulged her for a while, I asked her why she had visited me. She then looked at me with the most pitiful eyes and asked if I could borrow her $10,000 for the bail. She had sold all her jewelry to cover their school fees and legal fees and was running low on money. She promised to pay me back as soon as she got back on her feet, and in addition, she promised that she would owe me for the rest of her life if I helped her out. Do you want to know what my response was? Hell no. I'd already done more than enough to help her out, and I was not going to spend any more money on those brats again. In fact, I did not even want to hear about them. Whether they rot in prison or not, I don't care. They committed a crime, now they must do the time. You should have seen the horrific view on her face as she realized that I was oh so serious. She protested, reminded me that they were my brother's children, and I told her, oh, well, they were related to my brother, but I could not see traces of him anymore. She had corrupted, she had spoiled them, therefore it was her fault that they were now in this hot mess. Well, guys, she could not accept the fact that I did not want to help her, so she went down on her knees. She begged me to forget all that happened between us for the sake of them because they were innocent. She admitted that she poisoned them against me because she was jealous of our relationship, and she just wished that she had never done that because, after I withdrew my support, things went south. She cried herself to sleep every night because her kids were in cold cells and blamed herself. Well, I told her to get up off the floor. Someone off her statue did not need to gravel. That was a reference of how she used to act so high class when my brother was alive. She treated everybody like they were less, even me. Even when I made it in life, she looked down upon me, and, well, once she got up, I turned her around and showed her the door. I advised her to never come back to my house, ever again, otherwise I would get the cops to throw her out. I was not going to forgive her for what she did. Neither was I going to help those kids. They had made their bed, and now it was time for them to take a lie in it. Update number 4, 1 month later. How you treat people is always going to come back to bite you. Remember that. My sister-in-law saw exactly what that means when her kids were sentenced a couple of days ago. She was unable to pay their bail, so they were in custody for their entire trial. During this time, more evidence of their crime was uncovered. They snitched on some of their fellow dealers in order to get less time, but in the end that was not enough. In addition, I was called on to testify of their character, and I told the truth, that they were wild and unfocused. I also told the court that I stopped paying their fees because of their behavior. I remember my sister-in-law shouting and saying that I was just a jealous person and that I was lying. She made such a loud noise that she got kicked out for the rest of the day. She was lucky they allowed her to sit at the rest of the trial. From then on, things only went downhill. The two of them looked very scared, all of their bravado gone, and I think they were coming to the realization that they were in a lot of trouble. They've always led a sheltered life and gotten away with everything. When people tried to reprimand them, they did not listen. Now, they were probably wishing they had never been so rude towards me. In their defense, they claimed that somebody from school roped them into selling substances. They needed extra cash because they could not keep up with their expenses. In addition, they claimed that the star football player sought them out, but they never even approached them. They had a text message exchange which vaguely conveyed that they were going to meet up with him, but it was inadmissible in a court of law. Once all the testimonies were heard, they got their punishment. Firstly, expelled from school, stripped of all their academic achievements, and kicked out of college. All those years of studying down the drain. They have no marks on their records now because their records don't exist. They're going to have a very hard time finding jobs because of it. Their father would have been so disappointed in them if they, would have seen this happen while he was alive. Next, they were both sentenced to 3 years in prison, with a chance of parole after 2 years, only if they maintained good behavior. After they got out, they were supposed to maintain a clean record. If they were found selling again, they would be sent back to prison. Just like that, my niece and nephew were imprisoned, and I have not talked to them ever since and have no desire to. They might as well not exist to me. They've disappointed me in so many ways, and my husband and I took them as our kids only for them to throw it in our face. We should have just saved the money for our baby. Remember how I said we were getting a surrogate several months ago? Well, she's now carrying our child and is 2 months along. I'm so excited I can't even contain myself. All of the little milestones would have been making my days better. I need it because this trial has been so draining. I felt so many emotions, but have not let Holly see my weakness. As far as she knows, all of this did not affect me. She's a wreck right now because she's unable to accept her children's fate. When I have my son or daughter, I'll make sure to balance loving them and not spoiling them too much. I'll make sure that they know their value of hard work and how to appreciate what others do for them. I'll never let them end up like Jalen and Serena, who are basically lost causes. Hopefully. They've learned their life lesson and will do better when they come out of prison. If they don't learn, they're in for a ruder awakening. Comment number 1 from the final post. This one comes from Pauline Matthew. Yes, I'm glad that you and your husband are expecting. Being a first-time parent can be so exciting. I'm just glad that you got the trial out of the way before, you have a baby, so you can focus on the new addition of your family. I'm beyond happy. I understand that it was not easy to handle the trial, but I'm glad that you went on that stand and told the truth. Your niece and nephew have gotten out of hand. The sentence they got was very appropriate because of how extreme their crime was. They clearly got used to being spoiled and could not handle it when you withdrew your finances. As for their mom, I think that she's the reason they ended up like this. She should have been more strict, and now their future is up in flames and she cannot do anything about it. Final comment from Lysandra Harris. Dang, OP. I did not see things working out this way at all. I thought that they might get suspended, but an expulsion and jail time? That's life-altering for some allegedly harmful substance that's legal in mostly every state? Come on, what state are they in? 2 years? In prison? I know you don't want to hear this, but I think you should not have testified against them. Having someone relate to them testify their bad behavior might as well put a nail in the coffin. Now it's going to be difficult for them to get their lives on track when they come out of prison. I think that you took out your anger towards their mother at them, and Holly was the one who led to your estrangement from your whole brother's kids. I think you transferred your ill feelings towards them. They were wrong to call you names, but they had also brainwashed by Holly, who should have known better than to do that. Anyways, good luck.